Hello, friends. How is it going? It's been a little bit. Last week was kind of rough. Family got sick, so sick kids is never fun. Hey, Chris, good to see you. Good to see you. We are going to hopefully finish up the last bit of our physics and WebGL tinkering. We've got I think we have all the wiring there, and now we just need to see what the best way to interact with things that are in a physics engine and kind of go from there. Why WebGL? That at the surface, I think, seems like a simple question, but there's actually a really deep answer to it. Let's go a little bit with the background. Do I not have? Yeah, let's just switch over to that display right away. So we've got this stream is running with OBS. The chat, which is currently not showing up because I don't have the server running. I think I have it set to yeah, we're using all the test chat stuff. Oh, I have it on the stream deck. Look at me go. Yep. So we need the server running. So the idea is that we made in what did we end up using? Vite and React Preact. We made a browser scene, and that browser uses React 3 Fiber with WebGL, and we can then put that as a layer in our OBS. And the reason we went with WebGL is that we can put like the chat and different interactable elements into the scene and basically have like WebGL elements show up in the overlay here. So I gotta start it. Blast. Start. It'll be nice when this is sort of in a little bit more of a steady state, so I don't have to remember to have it all turned on every time. All right, let's restart the overlays, and I think it's gonna go. There we go. that. So these are all models that we made in Blender, exported as GLTF files, and imported into our WebGL scene. So if you use exclamation mark drop, you'll get that. But we should also get the chat. So anytime you do a chat message, if it's not completely broken, we should see it show up there. And actually, I forgot to open up my code window, so I'm just gonna open up a new tab here so I can leave the server running and stream overlay. So hopefully we can knock the last bit of this out today. We've got some in-process files here, and we can open up the scene here as well. I think, probably just want to look at the chat page. Right now we actually have 3 WebGL scenes with each wrapped with their own, well, not all of them are wrapped with physics yet, but at least a couple of them are. H beams are kind of funny, but extremely annoying. Tell me more. I'm curious. So we are getting the message come through. Did we break it from last time? We are not seeing any chat message. It's there. It is there. Oh, just as far as distraction kind of goes, you mean? Or I feel like I'm missing something. Gonna have to help me out. Chaib. Feel like I am not pronouncing that well. Help me out. So it's definitely doing physics things because you can see it tweaking out the Matrix 3D stuff. So it's moving. Why can't we see it though? That is the question. but I've heard your name. Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, it's a Sam. Gosh, the text chat window thing in OBS here is, yeah. I'm. Should I just call you Sam? I can't. Well, I mean, I could butcher that too. Perhaps you have a different pronunciation for that, but I'm trying my best. Okay, so we are getting the events. We have. They're coming in through Streamer.bot. They are. We're hotkeys. That's what we want. So we can make a chat event using Control Alt Shift X. Oh, and there's also the monitor tab. I forgot about that. We have monitor, and this will end up being what I put on the side, and I'll watch this for the chat. I'm gonna need to make it look nicer, but so we can see the chat events show up here, and then we can do the highlighting here. Oh, that's weird. It showed up here much faster than it did on my overlay here. I think I'm actually gonna prefer this. This seems to update much faster than whatever doc is in OBS here. So what I can then do with this is I can highlight it and unhighlight it. Oh, hey, there it is. What in the? Boy. That's not great looking, is it? And then we can also do text, or we can do test chats as well. Control Alt Shift X, right? Control Alt Shift X. Did I break that? You didn't try Tori for mobile yet. I have not, no. I need to talk to Friday Brain. Holy cow, I am just absolutely blanking. Lucas. Jonas, there we go. I need to talk to Jonas. I think Jonas was experimenting with the Elk Mastodon client that a bunch of folks were working on, and wrapping that in a Tori integration, and then playing around with the mobile. I don't know if he's gotten to it yet, but I was actually kind of holding off and doing mobile until I caught up with Jonas, because he said he was going to get some of his streaming stuff set up. I don't know what his plans are, but I was kind of waiting on him to where we could do a collab video and get into the mobile stuff. I've done very little mobile dev. I know about it, and I know some of the pain of it. But that's probably, rather than watching me struggle for a couple hours, that's probably something that pairing on would work much better with. So we'll see if we can. I don't know if we'll do Jonas as a guest or how we'll end up figuring that out, but I need to talk to him again. So TBD, it will come, just hasn't yet. And after I get this kind of squared away and we get a little bit of chat overlay in here, I'm going to probably go back to a couple more Tori videos. Also TBD on what we want to dig into. So I am open to suggestions or thoughts. I hope the mobile integration works out. We've always kind of planned to do it, and we set up the architecture to be able to enable it. And that as well as other bindings in other languages. The flexibility that we have with having Rust at the core, I think, is really going to pay dividends. But you know, it was one of those things that was clearly different, clearly a very separate scope from shipping V1. So it made sense to get a thing out, ship V1, and then push up mobile to V2. So, and I mean, it's sort of a completely different skill set too. So, you know, it takes time to get people spun up in the project and helping out with the mobile, and people that are familiar with the project getting them into the mobile stuff as well. So like myself included, I don't know anything about mobile. So not that I've been helping on the low level code at all, but you know, it is what it is. Can you have a database in the back end of mobile? So the way that it depends what your expectations with the backend mean. I'm presuming when you say backend, you mean the part of your app running Tori code, or the Rust code, excuse me. I suspect that the architecture is going to end up being very similar to where you have a front end written in HTML and CSS, and then you have the back end written in Rust. And from a web dev point of view, you interacting from your HTML, CSS, JS to a thing, you consider that your backend. So you're communicating to the Rust interface, and that's what you end up kind of considering your backend. I'm presuming that's pretty common. That's kind of how I think about it. And my understanding is that it's probably going to be sort of a similar situation. The things that you do natively in Rust might change, though, depending on what you're doing. Because obviously, mobile is has different capabilities than Windows and Mac and Linux do. So I think I think functionally it's going to end up feeling very similar. And I think what's going to end up dictating for it to feel different, writing a mobile app versus desktop app, obviously deployment's going to be different. But it's just going to be what kind of native integrations you're going to doing. The backend is the most important. I think I see your point, but the reason we haven't writing C, C++, that type of code can it's a very high bar to clear coming from the perspective of a web dev. Like, the reason you went into front end is likely because you either don't have an interest in like low level code, or you just don't have the background in it, and it can seem intimidating. So as a way to market this, you don't necessarily have to know a whole ton of Rust. And Rust is very good at holding your hand. The compiler is pretty amazing, in my opinion. So I think part of the value of Rust is that you can come into it with less experience and still be productive once you kind of get over that like initial, like, the compiler is trying to help you and dealing with the types. But if you have TypeScript experience, some of that's less of a lift. All that being said, though, I think there's value in being able to make an app without having to know a whole ton of Rust. So that's sort of like one direction that we promoted it. We've been working on improving the integration where you can write your whole app using Rust. So there are multiple frameworks now, and there weren't when we were first kind of like, I wouldn't say making the decisions around marketing, but when we first designing Create Tari app, the integrations to do your front end in Rust were less complete or didn't exist. And now that's starting to change. So you could theoretically write your whole app in Rust to where your front end is written in Rust, compiles down to a WASM file or something like that, and then that is what's served on the front end. And your backend is also written in Rust. Air quotes here again, backend. So I think that's gonna make the that's gonna enable our ability to sort of market the ability of the backend and having the basically having Rust as an available the whole Create ecosystem as an available thing to do. Yeah, and see, that's the thing. Rust WASM isn't compelling for you because you're writing Node.js, and that's probably pretty relatively common, expectation from somebody coming into Tori from the web dev route. So we didn't want to scare away people saying that knowing Rust was a requirement. So we sort of tempered the expectations around the backend and Rust. Maybe that's the best way to say it. And I think that's going to change over time. As a project develops, the way you market it and inform people and write docs about it changes, because as a newer project coming on the scene, you sort of need to sell somebody in an elevator pitch. It's like why is this thing something that I'd be interested in 10 seconds? And saying, hey, you need to learn Rust is kind of a turnoff for many. So that's probably why you have a feeling that it was sort of downplayed. Does that make sense? All right. So we are definitely getting, yeah, we are, now that we've got a bunch of chat messages in here. So I appreciate the questions. Feel free to continue asking. But also now we have a lot of data. So we're playing around with moving the chat messages. So why are they not? Oh, are we just zoomed in way too much? That's probably a big part of it. Let's give that a refresh. And connected. So now we need a test chat message. So if we do our hotkey, hopefully this works. Why isn't the hotkey working? Okay, it's working. Oh, it's showing up as a pending action. Okay. We were mucking around with blocking. We want to resume. There we go. So it's showing up in the pending actions, that's why. And now we're probably going to get a big inflow of them. So we'll just go ahead and refresh whatever, it's fine. So we'll do a test one. I'm going to actually refresh this here too. Oop. And I think commands show up as, no, the commands show up as a different thing. So if we do something like that, we are going to see it as a command. Are those showing? Oh. Yeah, it's showing up as a command, so that's not going to help us out here. Our test chat event is not... Alright, what did we do last time? We were dealing with a sort, because as we were playing around with and trying to highlight a message, it broke our sort. And we sort it based off of a timestamp, and here we're setting the physics type to kinematic position and all of the other ones to dynamic, and then we're pulling that value as part of the that. So it's probably showing up there. There you go. Yeah, so you don't have to say beam or column or whatever the heck I called it. If you do exclamation mark drop, it just does all of them. But it also filters, comma separated filter, I believe. So like you could do exclamation mark drop stairs or stars, comma chairs. Yeah, we got what, like spiky balls or something. I need to like, I don't know, down there or something maybe, like put a list of the commands, but it is what it is. So those in Streamer.bot, those show up as commands. So I have a completely different like event that I can listen into for that. So I can keep it separate from the chat. And so we're doing this and we're doing our chat box. The logs that we're seeing are coming from 253 here, I believe. 234 from chat. Oh yeah, use highlight. Okay, yep. Right here, yep. So we're seeing the event come in. It's being piped in there, but for whatever reason, it's just not showing up in our overlay. So it's probably something in here that we need to play around with. We're setting the translations. The next kinematic translation here. And but that's only if it's highlighted. So that was sort of our first spike of if we highlight a message via this monitor tab, then wish the zoom worked differently. I zoomed out on here. Yeah, so if I zoom it on this tab, which makes sense because I want to be able to see the full canvas here, then this gets zoomed out. So if we do a highlight, that should show up in this tab as well as in action with highlight. And it gives us the message ID, and that's how we're supposed to be highlighting it in here. Yeah, so something's kind of wonky right there. We were also doing, so this scales it. The WebGL element we have coming in is just like a standard size. we draw the text and then we determine the size of the text and just like scale the WebGL element up behind it. So the text itself that you see up there is HTML, and it's just like synced up with the WebGL element that's behind it, that green. So if, yeah, it's highlighting the right thing. And it's doing the movement, kind of. But we got some buggy there. So it's definitely doing this translation. And then when it's not highlighted, we want to like translate it back. So for whatever reason, those aren't coming in, or those are coming kind of funky. And it might potentially be related to this too. So we're actually going to, I'm just going to copy this, save it as a comment, and I am going to flip back to straight up just using this as the physics type. Let's see if we can get the dynamic part to be working again. I'm not seeing any events. I feel like my hotkey isn't working. Oh, yeah. Pending again. I keep getting caught by that. We need to turn that off, I think. So what we were doing was when we clicked the highlight button, we wanted to pause the chat from moving. So we were hoping to just like fix everything. Don't move anything. We'll highlight the one, move it back, and then we can resume. So my idea was that we would actually send the chat events as in a paused state. And that's why all of those events were showing up. So now, anytime I hit that, I should get the message right away. Love my message ID. Should probably just like math.random that or something. So why aren't we getting any? We're definitely seeing them in the monitor tab. And we can highlight. I'm going to pull this out in a separate window. So if we highlight, we see it here. It gets highlighted here. There. Oh, so it's showing up there now. That's funny. So we're still getting that movement occurring because of this highlighting. Did this get goofed up? So when an element comes in, we want to set the kinematic position, or we want to set the physics type to kinematic position. So the idea is that it spawns up above where is visible and shifts down in and pushes all the other ones in. And then all of the others should then be set to dynamic, which should allow them to then be affected by the one where we are setting the kinematic translation. And we are just continually stepping. But it seems like, oh, okay, now it started. Yeah, so there's something with our highlight. Yeah, oh, yep, that's what it was. Okay. So, test event. Pending again. That's gonna keep catching me. I need to just leave that open. All right, I'm gonna refresh. Blue. It's in there. It's just not moving now. Let's make this real tiny. And we should be seeing the full wrapper here. Enough of it. Physics type is coming in as kinematic. This is the I like the with Vton, actually we were running into this with Parcel as well. The I'm gonna reset this test chat there. It's bugging me. The we kept running into like caching issues or hot modular reloading issues where like we would change the thing and then it would refresh hot reload and work ish. And then when we refresh the page, it would stop working, which is just really odd. Oh, I didn't save it. Is that really what it was? There we go. Okay, so this is the interaction that we want. When we highlight something, we want to freeze all these elements. And when we freeze them, this is what we were doing. But the problem is we were running into this where we would continue to set the kinematic translation for everything as well, which apparently affects everything. So how do we deal with this? It seems like the kinematic translation does affect elements that are dynamic. So if they're marked as dynamic, it seems like they are actually affected by this. And maybe a good way to test this would be there's the kinematic translation, and then there's also the position of the element. And I think they're actually like separate pieces. So that's sort of what we were trying to like dig into last time. So if we do like a console.dir here, this is actually going to take quite a bit. So we'll see this show up a bunch. But if we set the, I guess it would be the x. If we say x minus like 2, and just like shift it over, does this affect everything? So now this is going to fire for everything. So see here, we're getting our x's and y's. It seems that like when we is it plus? I don't remember which way is left and right. It seems like if we apply kinematic translation, that it stops being dynamic. Oh, it's still still 14? What? All right, let's take this off. Oh, that's the position. So the position is actually going to And now if we apply next kinematic, okay, let's do a const shrug equals mesh. Oh, we want to get the kinematic. So if we say an API.current dot, what do we care about there? I guess is it just translation dot translate? Misspelled shrug, but at least I was consistent. Okay, so translate is not a function. Let's just log out all of API.current. It would be nice to have like a log once thing. Okay, there's translation. API.current.translation. So you can see here, the translation is actually changing. So it's being moved down. All we're logging out is like the value. So we're actually like translating it. And let's do, the thing we care about is Z. So if we say Z translation, and we'll call it ZP for position, we'll hopefully see, oh, so you can Z, wait, what? Translation never changes. Oh, why? Z is depth. Z is depth. Got it. So we actually want to do Y. I was like, why is it never changing? I was so confused. We also have to be a little bit careful because just logging out things, if you don't mutate, the console.log should be pretty good to rely on. If you are mutating, things can get a bit funky. So the thing that we also care about, so it seems like these are different and separate. This is setting the next position continually based off of the previous translation. So we're affecting only the translation in moving this. And once we switch it to dynamic, I'm also curious what else is going to happen. So we're still getting a whole bunch of logs. But you can see, so like every other log is going to be one versus the other. So the translation is different. So the translation is actually updating, the position isn't. So the position, I believe, is basically the initial where we drop it in. So it was created and put in at this location. So the position is not something I think that we actually care about. So if we strictly just look at the translation, and if we say the next kinematic translation, I mean, fine, just leave it as X, Y, and Z there. But if we do X, so if we say X minus 2, is that actually going to move every one of them over? And see, this is the other thing. We are setting. Can we not set those? Can we just change the X? So if we take these and just change the Y value, are we able to like set next kinematic values continuously? Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, it doesn't seem like we can only set one value because it's just straight up not coming in now. So if we, and like this is the other thing, I'm not seeing any errors or anything like that. So some of this I think kind of just these calls can fail silently. So like if I change and do this, hot modular reloading should have reloaded it. It's actually running on the new code now, but it hasn't updated the existing WebGL elements. So if we do this, it's still coming in. And now if we refresh, it doesn't. And I think this is kind of what has proved to be confusing. Because like sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't, and it's not always clear. And I think the only way that I've like gotten it to consistently work, despite having hot module reloading, is to just physically reload it every time, or digitally, whatever. Press the button. So we can't. We need this to fire, and we need it to fire, and then we need the physics engine to take over for the dynamic. So we can't just say in here that always do this next kinematic translation because we're sort of like overriding our expectation of it actually changing. HMR is like the epitome of this is a useful thing built on a house of cards. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad it exists. It was cool when it came out to be able to just say, oh my goodness, things just update. But I feel like apps have been getting more and more dynamic on top of what we had at that point, to where like making HMR work consistently across all of these newfound like interactions and built-in states and everything, like it's not easy. It is not easy, and it is definitely showing its cracks. Yeah, it feels like it's fighting against the JS language common usage. I feel like it worked really well for like me wanting to go and change a file and see the CSS move. Like I want to see my element move around on the page. And now we're doing so much more than that. That like just getting it to work consistently is just I I'm glad I'm not involved in trying to make that work well, because that is wow, an uphill battle. Um, and now with all the different ways we do CSS too, like the original implementation of like just swap out the thing and make the CSS update, that's even really difficult to get working well. Okay, so I don't think we can just we got to be careful with set next kinematic translation. So I think we can only ever do that for we can only ever do that for elements that we want to move, and everything else I think we just end up having to fix. I mean, I could set them all to kinematic position. It should be fine. I am actually a little bit curious. What if we do what if we do this? If we are setting everything to kinematic position, the way we are doing our physics here, we are having one thing come in, we're having another thing come in and push it. Okay, so when it's in kinematic position, two kinematic positioned objects appear to go right on top of each other. I don't have an error there. Come on. I mean, that could very well be it. Nope. Yeah, okay. It was not. So we do need to make one of them kinematic, and if we want all the others to react to that one kinematic positioned object, we need all the others to be dynamic. So we need to rely on the physics type. And that is where this came in. So if we have anything highlighted, this awful ternary, nested ternary here, if we have anything highlighted and the thing we care about is not highlighted, we were just fixing the position. Probably fine. And if it is the thing that's highlighted, then we say, hey, now you're highlighted. No, wait. No. It goes into the next ternary. And if it is highlighted, then it is kinematic position. Oh, that logic is wonky. Yeah, we're gonna have to redo that. Do I try to pull it out of this nested ternary? That is the question. So our physics type is going to be setting dynamic or kinematic position. So really all we care about is use the physics type that we've previously assigned, or be fixed if you're not highlighted. So I think actually I can just zip all this out here, because all I want to do is like set you to fixed if you are not highlighted and any of the messages are highlighted. So if we're in like highlighted mode and this isn't the one that I care about, just fix it. So let's just make sure this interaction still works. That does. And now we can say if we have a highlighted message, so if as we're looping through all of these objects on every frame, so that would be like the every tick of the, it's not the physics engine, but it's every tick of the like draw cycle within the WebGL scene. This, guess we want the existing, and we're just gonna move it. So that's fine. And I think we're gonna have to like save that state because we need to be able to move it back once we're done, but we'll deal with that. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So we get these elements come in. And now let's go over to here and we will try to remember if this is, I guess they're all gonna highlight, aren't they? Okay, let's change the message ID. Our default has a message ID of this, and this is lost its ability to scale. Timestamp plus timestamp, good enough. I can't remember if timestamp is an actual like seconds or what it is, but whatever. That should be enough to give us separate values every time we create a new event. So we do need to remember that we're still pausing the chat. So I need to go in here and resume. There we go. Refresh. Okay. one event, second one, third one. Let's highlight the middle one. Oh, the message ID is still. So we're turning that. We don't have another message ID in here, do we? No. ID, published at. Where's timestamp coming from? Default chat event. Timestamp is coming from here. It's an ISO string. Let's do it like this. Template strings. I'm not sure why that. Well, I mean, it shows up there. Message ID. Oh, did I not refresh? I refreshed that page, didn't I? Oh, let's just try it again. Chat is paused. Unpause. Resume. There we go. Okay, message event. Our message ID is still coming in as. So our message ID on this one is coming in correct, or what we just changed, but we also had that implemented on the monitor page. So we're going to want to split that out, I think, at some point here, but I'm going to just keep kicking that can down the road. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Give everything a refresh. So now we get a couple of events. The message ID is different. And if we highlight the middle one, we have just highlighted one message. So now one of these should be in like highlighted mode, basically. And they don't actually seem to be moving or doing anything. So that's either a good thing or a bad thing. When we click something as highlighted, we want to be doing this. So when an element is highlighted, we want to start logging stuff out about it. We are passing in if any message is highlighted and if that message is highlighted. So basically, like, are we in highlighting mode? Which will dictate this. So if we're in highlighting mode and it is not highlighted, then fix it. Otherwise, use whatever we've defined. Let's double check our queue is blocking or paused. Let's reset that again. Okay, so it comes in, highlight. So it's not actually getting highlighted at all. We want to change did we mess up the IDs to where they don't match anywhere? Message ID, timestamp. Message ID, timestamp. So if we look at the last one that we did here, the message ID is this. I bet you they're just being created at like slightly different timestamps. because they're completely two separate elements. Yep. Let's just. I think that's going to be a fixed number of characters. So if we say 4, 6, 8, so 17 characters, I guess, and we'll just ignore that. Because I guess we want seconds, right? Hours, minutes, seconds. Ugh. I don't like it, but start or dot. What is it? Slice? What does it sound right? Index to the beginning of the specified portion. Turns a section. Okay. Start and end. Yeah, okay, it is what we wanted. We'll say 17. It's gonna be close. We might run into like weird random bugs, which is gonna be annoying, but let's try this first and then we'll go from there. This is just for the develop message. All we're doing is we're mashing on the ID. So the actual ID that's coming in from the YouTube API is like lc dot something or other. So it's only going to really be a bug when we're just testing. And we're paused again. Resume. Refresh. Refresh. So they're on top of each other. So that's another reason we're pausing, because we want these to come in at a certain clip. And we were handling this through Streamer.bot. So we didn't have to handle it in our front end code. So now if we highlight, two of them match up. But you can see that one of them actually shifted over. God, that's annoying. How do we deal with that? What's the hotkey that's coming in here? Hotkey is triggering a chat event. Got it. If we look at the events that are coming through, can we do, all right. Stop logging. You need to stop. And resume. There we go. So the value that's coming through, we are getting running action ID, a timestamp. That timestamp is, okay, so this is also still set from what I had said here. Basically, if we get anything that's coming in where it doesn't have a message, which would be our hotkey, just like make it a default event. But if we get a dynamic value in through here, we can just use that instead. Console.log event. So we are getting an event, a chat event coming in through these arguments. And we are getting a timestamp here. So we can actually use that timestamp. Which would be, why did I not do that in the first case? That's an oversight. So it'll be just event.timestamp. So I can actually do event.timestamp here. Use that. So now every time I do a default message, it is going to use the timestamp from when I press the hotkey, which should make it standard across both of these situations. Event.timestamp. I think what I was looking for before was I never expected this S to be capitalized. So when I was like writing the code initially, I didn't think timestamp was available as an option because I was looking for timestamp S lowercase. Okay, so now, oh, still slicing. No more dicing. Not talking about the vacuum. The jokes aren't going to get better. I saved right. Yep. Refresh. Refresh. Speaking of bad jokes, I am starting to think that especially if I can get I've been pretty consistent with noon on Friday streams. I don't know if I want to continue doing this time slot, but I'm feeling pretty good about being able to like schedule a specific time and day where I can stream, and in which that means I think it'll make it easier to bring guests on, and I think that will be fun. So rather than me just bantering with y'all, I can make awful jokes, not awful in the like mean way, but awful in the like dad joke way. Back and forth with somebody live talking. Okay, so we got one event, we got two, we got three, and the timestamps do look separate here, so I should be able to. There we go. We still get this weird like they change formatting, which is odd, but we are getting the toggle and we are getting it like updating. So now if we go into here and we say when we have turned on highlighting mode, do this. So it's actually setting it to I'm kind of surprised it's not moving. Oh, paused again. Resume. There we go. Okay, highlight. Okay, so move that time. Is it getting... Oh, man. I might have to step it where we shift it over and then shift it down and in. We don't have it actually going back yet. But if I put in another one... Oh, chat is paused. Yeah, they're like not coming in now, which is odd. One thing at a time. That comes in, that comes in, that comes in. If we highlight the last one that came in, it does shift it. It does seem like these are fixed though. That interaction is sort of weird. I'm not confident that this changing the type is actually going to help us out here. we might need to like grab it and pull it with a different object or something. Oh, that sounds just not fun. So like if we do the bottom one, that highlights fine. That's fine. They don't seem to be moving though, which is odd. Like why is only the when we apply a I'm setting the physics type. I'm gonna have to redo this ternary. Okay, well we're gonna pull this out into a separate little function here. I think that's gonna be easier to reason about, and then we'll be able to just like return. So we can say const physics determination, and we are going to pass in any. Well, let's do this first so we can get some syntax highlighting. We'll do this and this, and physics type. So now we can say return, and basically we're going to have two situations. We're going to return physics type if, I feel like I'm writing this backwards. So if we're in like highlighting mode, then we're going to do that. Otherwise, we're going to just return the physics type. And if we're in highlighting mode, we do if it is not highlighted, then return fixed. And if it is highlighted, we want to do the kinematic, which I would like to copy and paste so as to not misspell. Return this. So now we can do this here instead. So that should be a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to understand what's happening via our function here. And hopefully that fixes our confusing interactions here. So do a chat message. It is paused again. Resume. There we go. And another, and another's, and now it shouldn't matter which one we highlight. So we highlight it, and when we turn it off, we're not actually setting it back yet. So we still need to deal with that. But at least it's working on any of them. And it seems like once we've like set it back off of not highlighted, then things just... I don't know that this type is actually updating. And I think that's the thing that's going to end up catching us. I don't know how this is like refreshing. So if it's highlighted, we are setting a kinematic translation. It is effectively teleporting. So what we can do is we can say translate step. We want to translate in increments of 0.1. Next position doesn't really make sense, but we want to say const final position equals this. What we're going to do is basically step until we reach the final position. And we can probably just continue to set it. In this case, it's just going to be one element. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. So what we can do is we can say we have like the current translation, and we can make a step towards what the next one is. So if we say if this equals final position dot x, then sure. Otherwise, we need to make an adjustment, and our adjustment is going to be this. I might need to play around with my translate steps, but the x is always going to be negative. The z is always going to be 0. The y is the thing that might change a little bit because we need to get it to a specific value. Let's just throw this in here for right now. And, boy. This needs to be x. This needs to, or not, box location x. These need to be y's. All right, so this should allow us to, rather than snapping it, step it into position. And it is paused. Hold on, pause again. Okay, let's just do it with one, see if it works. There we go. Didn't stop. Whoosh. That's if translation is greater than. This one's gonna be weird. Can't stop, won't stop, right? I'm highlighted. The Y position is going to be weird because our middle of the canvas is basically, right here. So that's like 0, 0. So like we cross over from positive to negative. So that's going to be odd because we want, like, how do we tell it when to stop? Let's do one, and then we'll deal with the other way. What's this look like for? And we're paused again. Zoom. That one's not working. It doesn't move. Is that we are getting the translation? We're attempting to translate it. It must still be considered fixed. I think we're going to have to adjust the I don't think we can rely on the type here. I think this is like an initial render thing. Or yeah, I feel like that's an initial render thing. There's something where like this isn't re-triggering and we're getting a type update. it kind of works. I mean, we get the thing where it like bumps down and that works, but it doesn't seem to be updating. I think that's the part that's like throwing me off here. Let's log out API and just double check to see if we have any ability to change the type here. I actually remembered to resume the paused chat events this time. So we get this. And now if we highlight it, we're gonna get the APIs, turn you back off. It does actually stop. That's kind of cool. What does our API look like? Can we change? Can we change it here? We can see translation. We can set some of these. We can do a reset. It's possible that we have things sleeping as well, to where resetting would also wake it up. If it's fixed, I'm presuming that it's probably set to be sleeping. Let's give it a shot. So API.reset forces. I'm curious what that's gonna do. I still need to figure out a way to deal with this. Maybe I don't do final position. I don't really feel like doing a ternary in here. It's basically if it's like above 0, we gotta move it towards 0. I suppose I could do like a percentage. I don't know. Resume. Okay, we get that there. Now highlight. It is API.current. All right. So I mean that part's working. It's just, let's see if we can fix our logic here. That might be. Let's do 2 first. I want to see if the second one works. Because that's going to tell us if. That's going to tell. Whoop. Accidentally rotated the display here. Okay, so timestamp. Now, if we highlight the bottom one, that one should be dynamic right now. And if we change that, yeah, see, there's something weird with that. So I think we're going to have to figure out some other way to deal with that. Because the expecting this to update it just doesn't seem to be consistent enough when we're using the use frame. And I think that was a big part of what was tripping us last time, because we were expecting that to work. So if I just set like the physics type here, that works, I think, because anytime you add a new element, there's probably like a re-render process, and the tree in React 3 Fiber gets like synced up or whatever, and then it updates anything that is like out of sync. But if we're just changing or moving it, it's not actually going to. I think we kind of miss out on that, like that layer, or that step actually being run. So is there anything in this API that's going to help us out? Because what we want to do ideally is to set. Yeah, there really isn't. We want to like be able to set the physics type in there. React 3 Rapier. We'll give this a check. I think we're kind of getting close to the end of 2 weeks ago. Not much. 11 point. Yeah, so bug fixes. I think we're getting close to the end of the stream here. Joints. And there's a can sleep arg. Ah. Oh. Enable dynamic changing of rigid body type. And we're on that version. Added type setting to mutable props. Use can sleep on an immutable. So maybe it is sleeping. Do we have like an API.wake or something? I guess it'd be current. I'm wondering if it's sleeping, so then it doesn't get an update. Lock rotations, lock translations. You can set a bunch of things. Let's scroll through the docs quick and just double check to make sure there's nothing else in here. There's a paused. We might be able to do that instead. We might be able to just straight up pause the physics simulation. So if we're highlighting something, just like stop doing physics, we'll get back to you. And then we can move a component wherever we care, and then move it back once we're done. So this is the specify the type. We do have these. Yeah, so like position, the initial position, and then everything after that is off of translations. So I think that was something that was tripping us up. We thought position was a thing that we could use. But it's more so just drop it in here at this. Oh, the collider though has a position. Collider examples, debug, collision events. And I don't think we want to do anything with the tractors. Manual stepping, joints. So maybe that's going to be the thing to do, since we really can't do anything with the the type. I mean, we can, but I think we might need to like, there's something else that we need to toggle, I think, to get it to update, like force an update, because this doesn't seem to be recalculating when we do the highlight. And I'm not sure what we could do to get it to change that expectation. So I think that's probably where we are going to call it today. I was really hoping I could get this done, but this last bit of interaction here is sort of we're hitting into the little, like the low levels of this Rapier library, I think. So we're I kind of feel like we're resulting to, it's not really hacky. I don't really feel like it's hacky. It's just understanding the expectations of the library, maybe is the best way to say it. And we can adjust the kinematic translation, which we're doing, but it seems like that type just isn't updating, and then we get like weird interactions. So if we're able to just pause all of the simulation from running, we'll have to like pass down that the ability to do that. See, even if we do that, I want this. I want that to eventually interact with other things on the screen. So like if we've got a chat or something like that, it would be nice to have that interact with a chat. And like if we highlight something, it's going to go up there. I want to be able to like drop things and have them run into each other and have these all in the same physics scene. But if we're pausing physics simulation, that's not going to work either. So we've got let's log out the mesh ref as well. Double check that we don't have anything specifically on there. Mesh ref is going to be referring to the actual element itself. The API is on the rigid body. And we do have triggers on sleep, on wake. Do we have a can sleep? I'm actually curious. If we turn off sleeping, is that going to work? Refresh. Right, cute event there. Okay. Get that in. Get that in. Get that in. Turn on the highlighting. Close that one out. Maybe that's the key. We just presume these are never gonna sleep, and we just like de-render or unrender them. We'll have lots and lots of objects potentially in state as far as the text goes. But I mean, if we've got 20 of them that we can actually see and we just unrender anything that's not visible. Yeah. And then we can always replay chat events. So I could go into here and just replay a chat event if I really wanted to be able to see an old chat to then highlight again. I can replay it. It'll show back up in the monitor. I can highlight it again. I think that'll work fine. So that seems to be the key. I think it was sleeping, and then this type was not properly updating. Because what would happen is when we would toggle it on and off, yeah, each of these were like swapping to be. I mean, we've got nothing in highlighting mode right now. So these should not be kinematic. these should be dynamic. We aren't actually seeing an update there, which is fine because that's tied to the element itself. Yeah, and that's coming in from the top level data. So we might need to do something like that, where we like get it to basically like get it to re-render or update the type, because it doesn't seem we can do anything with the API to get us there. So my expectation would be that when we go through this real quick, and then I think we'll call it resume message. So we have 3 messages. The bottom 2 right now are dynamic physics. The top one is kinematic. If we hey, Equilibrium, good to see you. If we highlight this bottom message, it didn't move. What? What did I change? All I did was refresh, right? Okay, so those they highlight, but they're not moving. Yeah, so like that type just does not seem to properly update, which is really, I mean, I guess I can understand it making sense, but like we don't have anything in here that actually shows up. We do have the state though. Let's do, we are setting the state. I'm glad that we did this. Is asleep. So, oh, we do have the reset forces in here still too. That's fine. Resume, refresh, bam, bam. Okay, so that reset forces, I guess, was doing that. Is this ever asleep? It doesn't seem to be. I guess because we have it set to not be able to sleep now, so that's a thing. We don't really have anything on the mesh itself though. But when we unhighlight these, we need to be able to like set them back. And that's, I think that's sort of the sticking point, is like getting these to go back to, like after we've highlighted them, we want them to return back to where they were before. And then we want everything else to then update their type. So I think we're gonna have to like, we have to play around with it some. That's where we're gonna call it though. Got some other stuff to do, so I don't know, man. This seems, it feels like it should work, but we keep running into issues. And I think there is sort of, at least in the current maturity of this implementation, that when you put in, I mean, they added it in OPR to change the type. I think it's just the cycle between going from React 3 Fiber JSX into WebGL. There's just something there that's not actually triggering. that is getting that to update either fast enough or at all. And it feels hacky to like do things to just try to trick it to do that. I think what ends up happening is that we're setting that as we're setting it in the component above. Interesting. So we set any message highlighted in the component above so that all the messages know if anything is being highlighted, where their type should then update. But yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be updating the type for us. And I don't see a good way to update it via the API, which is kind of frustrating too. So I don't know. And I don't know that it's going to really be helpful for me to like keep poking around at this on stream. So I think we'll end up switching topics here. I do want to get back into auditory stuff. I got a mental note to talk to Jonas about what we were dealing with, or what we wanted to set up as far as some Tory stuff. So TBD on that. Otherwise, I will look forward to next week. Feel free to drop in the comments or send me a message on any of the socials if you've got any other things that you're interested in going through and tinkering with. We've definitely done more of a deep dive on WebGL stuff, and I think we're at the point where it will just spend a bunch of time off screen, and we're hitting edge cases that just aren't really worthwhile to get into. I can always show on stream after the fact what we've figured out, if I can get it to work. But I want to get some of the overlay stuff in the steady state that we can really start using it, and then get back into some other topics. But next time, have a good weekend. Happy Friday, everybody. I will see you on the next one. Bye.